And action.
Action Jackson, motherfucker.
How's it going, everybody out
What's
there?
up? We good?
In the ether. We're back to talk movies. You know it. You love it. Don't act like you don't.
You want more of it.
That's what people keep asking us. When are you going to do more movie podcasts? And I just keep telling them.
We're at twice a month group on, you know.
It comes out when it comes out.
Jeez, keep your panties on, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fighting bitches off left and right. Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody.
Hey.
What's going on? We got a couple of movies to talk about. My choice this week is one I chose before when Mike was co-hosting the podcast with the Inside Llewyn Davis. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. What did you choose, Drew?
This week I chose Manchester by the Sea.
First time watching, right?
First watch, and man, what a heavy movie.
Heavy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my kind of movie. Let's do us up a snapshot. Kick into this bitch. We'll talk about any other movies. Ready, go.
I felt like I held that face for probably longer than I needed to, but it's all right.
I'll freeze frame it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
Did you watch any other movies this week or the last couple weeks?
Honestly, man, not really.
I only have like a couple, too.
I was going to say, mostly what I watched were like shows. So, now I did watch one movie, and it's a movie I love because I grew up on it. It is a horror movie, but it's more like a black comedy. I don't know if you've ever seen it. But it's Idle Hands.
Love it, dude.
Dude, I love that movie. It's like the humor holds up. Like, I mean, it's cringy, but it's the right kind of cringy.
Green,
yeah, dude. It's
got the bottle in his head and shit.
It's like I love. It's got the kid from Mighty Ducks. Like,
yeah.
It's also got I can't remember his name, but he's like one of his first movies. He was in SLC Punk. He's the kid that gets all the acid melted to his leg.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, that movie fucking cracks me up.
Jessica Alba, super hot.
She's so hot, dude. I saw Young and Perky, and it's just like, man, you have aged like fine wine, lady, because you hardly look any different even today. I was like,
all right, Jessica Biel or Jessica Alba?
I'm a Jessica Alba, man. Like,
same.
Yep. She's goddamn perfect. But
dude, when he fucking eats the burrito and and it comes out of his neck and shit.
Well, that's the other thing, dude. This movie was made in 1999, and some of the decapitation scene in this movie is better than like 90% of the horror movies that come after it in like the 2000s because they use like real prosthetics, and it actually looks. It's a silly fucking dumb movie.
Yeah.
But like a lot of like the body horror is really good because it's all prosthetics and it looks good. My favorite line of the movie though, it's so funny, it's so dumb. He's like, again, another terrible day saved by marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny fucking movie.
He has
man.
like an inhaler, but he uses it as a pipe or something like that.
Yep, he takes the top off and it's a little like one hitter. Yep.
Yeah, dude. Classic. I watched a movie called The Father. Ever heard of it?
No.
Anthony Hopkins, dude, and it's about him. He's got Alzheimer's, right? And it's just crazy how the movie's shot. How it's you're sort of seeing it through his eyes. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's very confusing at times and shit. Just because like, he's dealing with this disease and shit, and like he doesn't recognize his daughter sometimes and shit. Just like everything's
rough,
crazy,
man.
and
Yeah.
just how it's shot.
That's how my grandfather was towards the end of his Alzheimer's. It's dude, that kind of shit's it's rough. Like it hits you in the feels for sure,
dude. If you seen this movie, it'd probably hit you.
It'd probably
it's
fuck me
heavy,
up, man.
and you know I like those type of movies, man. And
yeah, something like that though. I don't know if I would enjoy it. Just 'cause it would just feel too personal for me.
Okay, yeah.
Because I didn't even see my grandfather the last year that he was alive because of all the COVID shit, man. So,
oh shit, that was
he
recently.
2020. He passed away in 2020.
Whoa,
R.M.P. Fucking love that guy. He was like my dad growing up, and so like the people ask me about the initials on the back of my neck, and it's my grandfather's initials. Like, right, people give me shit about the G on the back. I was like, but it doubles as not only grandfather but also like his middle initial. So like,
also he was a G. No,
he was, man. He was an old school G. He was a fucking man.
Yeah.
And I look up to him a lot, and so like that kind of subject matter is rough because like there'd be a lot of times where there'd be like the situation where the lights are on but nobody's home. Like he has he's so confused he doesn't know what's going on. I was lucky enough to not.
Yeah, that's hard.
I mean, it's hard because I didn't get to see him the last year he was alive because of all the COVID shit, because all the lockdowns and shit. So he passed away before I ever got the opportunity to actually like see him one last time. But I also didn't have to deal with some of the stuff my cousins dealt with, where they would like, go and see him, and like my cousin had all my cousins had a close relationship with my grandfather too, and like he didn't even know who they were. Damn. And it was just like, and my one cousin that I'm really close with, he's like, man, that cut me really fucking deep. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, he's like, that hurt. Like.
Yeah, that's like, tough situation.
Yeah, so
man.
like that, that I can only imagine, man. That movie, you talk about liking to cry. I was like, I'd probably cry the wrong way because it'd like bring up so many memories, man. So I was like, I'm glad
it's a fantastic movie.
I'm sure it is.
Like, it won a lot of awards and all that shit.
I'm sure it is, but I already know the kind of reaction. It would probably fuck me up for like a day or two. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah. You got any others? I only got one more.
I've got one more I want to talk about. It was I watched Casino. When was the last time you watched
Pretty
that movie?
Good.
It's a
couple years ago I watched it.
I would say that it's pretty good, but for a Scorsese film, I was putting it in like
you
the
mean
middle of
Goodfellas 2? No, I'm kidding.
it's essentially poor man's Goodfellas is what I was going to say. Like that
was like a David Spade joke, I think.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as Goodfellas. It's essentially the parts of it are almost like a rehash of that, and I feel like the characters are much less interesting in that movie. They don't have the same gravitas or charisma to it. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it, but then I think I enjoyed it more this watch than the last time I watched it. I remember not really liking it the first time I watched it. I gave it a chance.
I've only seen it once.
I was like, this is an okay movie. It's not really. I don't really feel like it's one of his best. I think it's one of his like mid-tier. I mean, I don't think it's his worst movie. There's definitely other movies he's made that I don't like, but this one is.
See that new one, bro. Killer.
Yeah, I know. I've heard nothing.
I love it.
Heard nothing but good things about it, but I feel it's a pretty middle. The Casino is a pretty middle of the road.
Sure.
Scorsese movie.
Yeah, I need to revisit that. I could do a rewatch on that one.
I feel like it could have been condensed into a shorter story. I feel like it gets dragged on a little too long, like for what it's trying to do.
Sure. The only other one I watched is a movie called Moonlight. It's an A24. It's kind of gay, literally. I did not expect that going in. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, but it was a pretty, decent watch. It was heartfelt and all that shit. Pretty good. I don't know what else to say about it.
This is a side note. This was a mistake, but I'm gonna drink it because I opened it.
Is it bad?
It's pretty skunky, but I was like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna power through it.
that devil.
That devil.
What
That
is it?
devil got me. It's a race day Daredevil. It would have been much better cold. His beer sat overnight, but hey, I'm going to drink it. Fuck
Have
it.
you ever had one before? One of those?
I have. I've had it when it's cold. It's a lot better.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, beer is a beer, you know?
Beer's a beer. All right. If you don't have any more.
Nah. Honestly, the only other thing I really watched was like series. I didn't watch a lot of movies this time.
Yeah, me neither. Like I didn't even finish watching Llewyn Davis. I feel kind of bad but I know the movie. I've seen it plenty of times and I love it. But yeah, you walked in just a little bit ago and I was like in the middle of that movie. I got like 30 minutes left.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we can definitely talk about it first since it's still kind of fresh in your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah.
All right, Inside Llewyn Davis.
Let's fucking go.
It's a 2013 dramedy. Director. It's the Coen brothers, directors. And I feel like it's a very underrated Coen brothers movie, man. And because I mean, Coen brothers got some banger fucking movies, but this one I feel like flies under the radar a little bit for a lot of people. And whenever when I picked it when Mike was on the podcast, he didn't really care for it, dude.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of understand why.
Is it because Llewyn is not a likable person?
I think part of it is that reason is because you tend to pick movies about characters that are very flawed.
Yeah.
Which I agree with you. I think flawed characters are more interesting.
Totally.
I think the problem with this movie is it just doesn't have a satisfactory conclusion. It takes place in a very rough patch in his life, but there's no really conclusion to that. You just kind of have this chapter of his life.
Kind of is what it is.
It's kind of well, this is just kind of what fucking life is at this stage. At the same time though, man, as somebody who has struggled his whole life to try and make money off of his artwork, I fucking understand his struggle, and it's and I commend him for that portrayal because it's very realistic, man.
Totally.
I mean,
I love Oscar Isaac, man. He's so good in this.
Well, I was going to say that too. This is the movie that was his breakthrough role, and it makes sense why. I mean, even if you don't like the movie, his acting is so fucking on point. But the thing that surprised me the most is how good he was at singing. Like, that is the thing that blew me away the most.
I know, and they shot like his real performance in a lot of these scenes.
Well, and I didn't know that he could play guitar either. That was something I didn't even know about him. But I assume that he was playing guitar and singing in all these scenes because
he's a triple threat.
Yeah, goddamn. Yes, he is. And he's fucking handsome. The world's just not fair, man.
I know. I got a bit of a man crush on him. No.
Shit, you and my friend Jordan Ryan both, man.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I guarantee you she would fucking cheat on her boyfriend right now if Oscar Isaac was like, you should come home with me. She'd be like, yeah. She'd be like totally lost in his dark eyes. You know what I mean?
I love that guy.
He's a fucking fabulous actor, dude.
But he's like, he does some movies that are like not good. He's a great actor, but some of his choices for roles.
Well, some of his choices for roles, like the role could have been perfect for him had the movie been better. Like a great example of that is the X-Men Apocalypse movie, right?
Right.
Where he's in all this goofy ass makeup instead of making him this cool character. Like he acts like his acting is so far above his fucking makeup and the fucking movie. Like he has so much gravitas as this villain, but the movie doesn't do him any justice.
And he was Moon Knight, right? Did you watch that?
I haven't. I know a lot of.
I didn't watch it either, really.
But I know a lot of comic book fans that say he was amazing in it.
Do people love it?
Yeah, people love him in that role.
He was also, Ex Machina, bro. Fantastic.
That's
movie.
an amazing movie.
Great movie.
I actually considered picking that movie.
Mike picked it before.
Yeah, that's.
But
the
if you want to pick it again, well, I'd watch it.
See, that's my thing. Is that I'm like, I don't want to repick movies.
I know this is the last time I'm going to repick a movie, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, I'm fine with you do it. I just don't want to pick other stuff that you and Mike have done, because I would, I want to bring us a little, keep it fresh, bring a little something different to the table.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I will say that his acting and his singing fucking blew me away. I was just shocked. I was
how
like,
good is the soundtrack though? Didn't you just love all the songs, bro?
Or it's not my vibe, but for what it is, I will say it's done very well. And you know what? Kudos to them for fucking sneaking Justin Timberlake into this movie.
Yeah.
Because I literally had to do a double take because his character was so toned down from what he usually does. I was like, wait a minute. Is that that is Justin. I had to look it up. I was like, what the fuck?
Please, Mr. Kennedy. Uh-oh. You remember that part?
Dude, Adam Driver cracked. Adam Driver was he was like the comedic break everybody needed.
Yeah.
Honestly, Adam Driver was all fucking great in this movie too. He's like, hey man, trying to
space.
He's like, you only need to stay here a couple days, right? My girlfriend's coming down from Chicago. You know what I mean? I love it. Dude, he was good, man. He's fucking. That's another guy, man. Some people shit on him, but I think he's so relatable in every fucking thing he's in. I think Adam Driver's a really underrated actor.
Have you seen Marriage Story?
A little bit of it, and he's fucking great in it.
Fantastic. Heartbreaking movie. Scarjo, you bitch. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, dude, this movie fucking rules. Fuck, dude, I love the soundtrack, like I'm saying, and it's kind of what got me into folk music, dude, because it was like my introduction, basically.
I was after I watched this movie, I was like, I totally understand why Kevin loves this movie so much, but from an outside perspective to it, there are things I wish would have been elaborated on, and things I feel like I felt John Goodman, his character, I kind of felt was totally unnecessary because he doesn't really do anything for the story. He kind of just, he's a very small
shits on him. he's pretty funny. He says some funny shit.
Like he's entertaining. He kind of breaks up like the very somber vibe of the movie, but I feel like he's totally out of place. I feel like seeing Adam Driver again, like having, because he already had that, like, he broke the seriousness of the movie and he was like pretty funny and entertaining. And since he was kind of already established character, I would have actually preferred to see like him or other characters again to like break up that tension, as opposed to just kind of throwing this other character in the movie where I'm like it's like, I love John Goodman. He's fucking hilarious. Like all the dialogue is really funny.
Yeah.
But I was like, but his character doesn't really. It elevates the movie because he's so good, and he really delivers his shit. Like, but he doesn't really add anything to the movie. He's kind of this weird just juxtaposition into the story, because we leave that scene, he's never talked about again. Like, he's not really brought up.
Yeah,
so
he just leaves him in the car after dude gets arrested.
Yeah, he just leaves him in the car, and the dude, and
and the cat.
Yeah, and the cat, and it's never addressed. The other thing that my other tidbit with the movie, John Goodman's actually, that's the smaller bit, is
this is your first time watching.
It's
right?
my first time watching it. Yeah, my other bit with it is they never really elaborate on his partner. I mean, it's very much so implied that his partner committed suicide, but they don't really get into that. They don't get into who he was as a person. They don't get into their dynamic. And honestly, I think that would have elevated the movie more if that would have been more a part of it, because I felt like
prevalent.
Yeah, I think it was something, because we see the record, we see his fucking face on the record,
right,
and we see the emotional damage at that little dinner party that he goes to with the older friends, where she starts doing his partner's part, and he fucking freaks out.
Yeah, he's like, don't do that.
And you understand why he's upset, because you kind of piece together that his partner committed suicide. So that's why, like, it's like a, you know, an insult. It's like, hey, don't do my partner's part. Like, that was my guy, and he's gone, and nobody else can fill those shoes.
Right.
And it seems like this is something that's not. It's like recent. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. I mean, I could be wrong.
No,
but
it does feel that way.
But that's the problem, though, is they don't give us any context for this other person, and I felt the movie suffered for that. That was just my first watch. I feel like I really wanted to know more about his relationship with this other person, and there's so many things that aren't really giving context.
Yeah.
And there's like these little story threads that are unfinished, and some of them make sense. Like the girlfriend he thought had an abortion, that he literally passes the town that she's in. But I know that it makes sense why he doesn't go there, because I think that's a good thing. I think that shows him accepting that she's chosen for him not to be a part of her life anymore, and that's a good thing. And
that's a crazy scene when he meets with the doctor, and he's like, wait, what?
Yep.
Why aren't you charging me? Oh, she didn't tell you? She went to term with the baby.
Well, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that show that Llewyn is really a selfish son of a bitch.
Totally.
Like, he's really not a good person, and I think part of it is he was like a doughy-eyed musician, and that loss of his other half, who is obviously like, this person was an integral part of his music making, because all of the shit he sings is sad as fuck. Like, clearly he's pretty heartbroken over
depressed.
Over things that have happened in his life. And on the one hand, he's so talented, but on the other hand, I understand why promoters are not jumping at the chance to like sell his records or put him up front, because he's a depressing motherfucker. Like, they don't, you know, there's a place for that. Sure, there's a market for it, but more so now. In the fucking 60s, people didn't want to listen to that depressing shit. You know what I mean? Rock and roll was just becoming a thing. I mean, he's very much there's a very Bob Dylan-esque vibe to his character.
Bob Dylan's in the movie. Did you notice? Towards the end, he's like on stage singing a song.
Oh, no shit. Like the actual Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
No shit. No, I missed that.
That scene that you walked in just a little bit ago, because I was watching the movie.
Yep.
Where he's playing for the dude, the record company guy, I forget his fucking name.
Yeah, he's like record company / like he owns that music hall.
He plays that song Queen Jane, and it's a fantastic performance. And then at the end, it's just quiet for a minute, and he goes, I don't see a lot of money in this. And it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it just shits all over.
Shatters his dreams.
Well, the real dagger is when he says, oh, you were with a partner? That makes sense. You should go back to that.
Yeah, he's like,
not knowing that the guy is dead, so he's like really driving the nail in the fucking into his heart. Yeah.
Yeah, what I suggest, get back together. Damn it, bro.
Well, there are other characters in this movie, though, that aren't good people either. Because I find Jane to be fascinating because she blames him for everything. Like, he's like, you know, she's like, I'm pregnant. Like, you ruined everything. I was like, well.
That's, what's her name? That's not her name.
And, you know, yeah.
Jean.
It's not Jane. It's Jean. Okay,
yeah.
But Jean. Well, Jean, I mean, she's right.
Carey Mulligan. I love her, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But Jean acts like
she's super bitchy.
Well, she acts like, oh, you know, Llewyn, you're such a fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. Like, you know, how dare you fuck your friend's woman. But it's just like, yo,
that
was my thing. I was like, did he?
She's trying to put all the blame on him.
Right. And I was like, did he rape you? Like,
More than
is
two
that?
to tango?
I was like, did he rape you? Like, because I feel like if he did, he wouldn't be welcome in your home. What it feels like to me is that she has so much guilt about betraying her husband
Justin
that
Timberlake.
she projects that onto Llewyn, which I mean, she's partly right. He is a fucking piece of shit for sleeping with his friend's wife, especially somebody that's letting him stay in their home, like when he's down and out. Like,
Yeah.
Llewyn is he really is a cocksucker. Like, he really is. Like, I honestly,
he said something about maybe we should talk about this when you're in a better mood. When would that be?
fuck you. Yeah.
And there's like small shit that makes me laugh about this movie.
No,
like there's really funny parts.
That's the thing is the Coen brothers always have.
There's always a
really good dialogue. Like the dialogue
100%.
The dialogue in their movies is always really believable, and that's something I always credit them for. And that everything about this movie, aside from definitely has the weird little idiosyncrasies that all Coen brother movies have. Those weird moments where like unexpected things happen, but in this movie, I just feel like sometimes they're out of place. So, God, man, yeah, the music. I was like,
I love the music.
I'm not big into folk music, but it was just done so well,
right? And like a lot of these songs were written specifically for this movie, and I feel like they fucking nailed it. They wrote some bangers, bro.
I was gonna say, that Jean did nail Llewyn though when she told him, "You never think about the future." She was totally on point because
you mean like flying cars and stuff?
But she was right because, like, you know, he blames his sister for throwing away his. This is later in the movie, so this is a bit more spoilers, everybody. But he blames his sister for throwing away his like mariner's license and all that shit because he decides he's not going to do music anymore. But he literally told her to throw all of his stuff away. Because he was thinking, oh, well, I'm going to make it, so I'm not going to need any of this shit. Right. Well, that's the thing, man, is, you know, I'm a proprietor of, hey, follow your dreams, but have a side hustle. Have something to fall on, especially when you're on hard times and you know you're going to go through some fucked up situations. So that way you have something to like rely on while you get through those hard times so you can get back to focusing on the stuff you want to focus on. Because that's just life, man. Life is always going to...
life.
That's the other thing I don't like about Llewyn's character is that he acts like he's the only person that's going through hard times, but he's just selfish. And so he hasn't set himself up to weather that. He's just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. But he hasn't, how to put this, he hasn't really exercised all his options. He's very much that person where he's like gone through a lot of heartache, so he's just like, well, fuck it. And I mean, I totally get that, man. You know, a lot of people reach that point in life where they're just like, well, fuck it, what's the point of even trying anymore? But
yeah,
you know, you're not going to get anywhere doing that. And especially when you want to do something as fickle as music, you know what I mean? It's really, really hard. Like, it's really hard and you have to get really lucky to make it, you know what I mean? So not only do you have to have talent, but you have to have connections, and you have to be in the right place.
Determination, drive.
Yeah, determination. I mean, it's like 5 things. You got to have the determination and drive to do it. You have to have talent, which, I mean, Llewyn obviously has. But you also have to find your market, and you have to be in the right place at the right time. So it's like a mixture of hard work and getting lucky. And that's the thing is, like, it's the same with art, the same with every creative thing. You have to reach a point where you either are like, okay, I'm never going to make it and this is just a hobby, or be like, okay, I'm going to do this job but keep doing this thing that I love doing until I finally make it. That's just the truth of the matter, because, you know, it's the same with acting. You never know when your big break might come. You might be fucking 50 years old. I mean, look at Ian McKellen. He was fucking 52 years old when he got his first major film role. And it's like he never gave up. You know what I mean? It took him until he was an old man.
I know the name, but
he's the guy that played Gandalf in
okay.
Magneto.
Yeah.
So he didn't get like major acting roles until he was basically already an old man. You know what I mean? I mean, he was in like theater plays and stuff, but he wasn't elevated to the level that he wanted to be until he was much later in his life. Sometimes that's just the way it is, and
that's just the way it is.
And but with Llewyn, he also, you know, it's okay to be on hard times, but don't burn your fucking bridges, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he seems to be at an age where it's like, man, you're too old to be burning bridges this way. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you pissing these people off? Why are you fucking your friend's wife? Like, you just...
I know.
Why are you yelling at the people that give you a place to stay when you have no other place to stay? Like,
where's his scrotum, Llewyn? Where's his scrotum?
That was fucking funny.
This is not our cat. Where's his scrotum?
That was funny. I give you that. That was funny.
Do you think the cat symbolizes something? I think there might be some symbolism.
I think there's always kind of that kind of stuff in Coen Brothers movies. Maybe it's a movie that I'd have to take another watch to, but
sure.
It just very, for me, it's unfortunately a very bleak movie, man. Like, you know,
it is.
He's just kind of going through the worst point of his life, and he's not making it, but he can't make a living doing the other shit he was trying to do because he's got no money, and he threw away his fucking mariner license.
And how about whenever he did that song with Adam Driver and Justin Timberlake, and then he just signed away his rights and shit for like $200?
Yeah, because he was.
And then that song blew up.
Yep, and he was so hard up for the money, and it's like, man.
Yeah, because he needed the abortion.
Yep, but you know, if he would have just held out and, you know,
put his name on the fucking,
and, you know, just not been a bitch and fucking gotten like a part-time job or something, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But that's kind of the other thing is like, yeah, we see Llewyn going to these like music auditions and doing stuff, but aside from that, like, he's really not doing shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I know, like, being, like, trying to be a profession like that is a full-time job, but it's kind of the same thing with comedians, man. When you're not actually, like, playing shows or in the studio, you're not really making any money, so you're really not doing anything. It's like, man, I don't know. I feel like you're kind of just a depressed fuck, and I get that, man. There's a lot of depressed fucks, and it's hard. It is. But, you know, nobody's going to do you any favors, man. And so until you make it, you gotta pick up your bootstraps and do some shit, man. And it's difficult. But you got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
I guess that's my biggest qualm. It's like it's my qualm. it's this weird thing where I intersect with Llewyn where I can completely understand.
You relate.
I relate, man. I've gone through some hellish dark times, through some wicked ass depression, man. Like that very human struggle that's relatable, and you know, you don't want to fault anybody for it, but at the same time, like, all his decision making is so poor, and he just treats everybody like shit. It's really hard
because he feels like shit.
Yeah, but it's like he projects that onto everybody else, so it's really hard to feel bad for him. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, what does Carrie Mulligan say? She's like, everything you touch turns to shit. You're like King Midas's stupid brother or something like that.
Dude,
idiot brother.
That was a really good line. You're King Midas's idiot brother. That was a really
everything
good
you
line.
touch turns to shit. Yeah. See, the lines like that, dude. Like you said, the dialogue, it's fantastic.
The music and the dialogue and the acting are definitely the highlights of this movie. I do feel like there are parts of the story that suffer because there is no real conclusion, which the Coen brothers they're kind of known for that sometimes, and they kind of leave it up to interpretation. But with this movie, I felt it needed a more finite conclusion. And like I said, I felt like
What's your favorite Coen brothers? It's hard to say.
For me, I would probably say I have a couple.
This one's up there for me.
It's
But Lebowski, obviously.
Lebowski, I elevate, and honestly, No Country for Old Men. Like
Yeah,
that's one.
dude.
That's one.
That's one that keeps getting better with every watch. Every time I watch it,
and
I like it
it's
more.
It's got one of the greatest movie villains of all time. Man.
Yeah, Anton Chigurh.
I would say this too, where some movies I feel like the movie is hurt because there isn't a finality to it. There isn't like a solid conclusion. I feel like this is one of their movies where the lack of a resolution helps elevate the movie because it puts in your mind that this crazy son of a bitch is still out there doing this shit, and it's very realistic the way it's portrayed.
Yeah, fucking A. Anything else to say about this movie, dude?
No, God, I pretty much covered on it.
It's fantastic. It's just about a struggling folk artist.
Yeah, man, it's really the age old tale
Village.
of a starving artist, man. Like,
yeah, New York. Well, yeah, we can wrap this one up if you want.
Yeah, man. I kind of did a deep dive on it. I really kind of picked it apart. I felt like a little bit.
I think the performances are just fucking amazing. Like Carey Mulligan, she's great. Have you seen Promising Young Woman? I might pick that, dude, at one point.
Okay.
But that's one of her movies. But yeah, rank it, dude. Rate it. I mean, I'm about at a 8.5.
I'm lower than you.
I can tell. I can sense that.
Yeah, it's not. it's this weird thing where sometimes the writing is so strong, and in this movie, I feel the written dialogue and the performances were so good, but the story is a little weak for me. So I'm sitting at about a 6 on this one.
And the soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah, no, the soundtrack, like, again, the acting.
I gotta hammer that home. The soundtrack fucking rules.
The fucking acting is so good, but unfortunately, I don't feel like the story is elevated to the same level as the acting is. So I'm at about a 6 for this movie.
Kennedy. Outer.
God, man.
Space. Outer.
It definitely has that Coen Brothers humor, man. There's definitely some funny shit in this movie.
Rewatchability, 100%, bro. I love it.
I'd have to give it some time. Some of the Coen Brothers movie, it's like that. Like I don't like it the first watch, and I come back later, and I like it more on the second watch. That's how it was. No Country for Old Men, and this movie may very much well be this way. I think the problem is I kind of watched Manchester in this one back to back, and they're both just such depressing fucking movies, dude.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good pairing.
It really was, and I was just like, I watched Manchester last night, and then I watched this one this morning, and then I was just like, man, I'm bummed out. I need to watch something funny. I'm kind of fucked up right now. It's kind of got me fucked up.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. Fucking A. Inside Llewyn Davis. We did it again. That's the last time I'm gonna re-choose a movie. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm gonna pick at the end of this.
That's the switch for us. I know exactly what I'm gonna pick, and it's gonna be a totally different movie than I think what we've picked conclusively so far.
All right, I'm into that.
But we'll get into that later. Let's get into Manchester by the Sea. I got a lot to say about this one too.
2016 drama. When I looked it up, it said drama thriller. I don't really think it's a thriller.
No, it's not a thriller. It's definitely a drama.
Director Kenneth Lonergan. It won fucking Academy Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, Academy Award for Writing Original Screenplay. And holy hell, man! So what put this movie on your radar? What made you want to watch it?
It was on one of those like underrated movie lists that you should watch for the 21st century.
Sure.
And so, I was trying to find movies that you hadn't seen and pick them. Did you pick this one for the podcast?
This movie, no.
Okay, cool. Because I was trying to find, maybe if it was, even if it was movies you've seen, at least if you hadn't talked on the podcast, I was like, so I got this big list and I kind of cherry picked a bunch of movies from it.
I will say, I would have probably eventually picked this movie. It would have been one of my go-tos to pick, but you picked it, so
hey,
great.
And yeah, it was like you said, it was a good pairing because, fuck, this is a bummer of a movie. What's so interesting is Casey Affleck, man. This has got to be like one of his best roles because he really.
See, I didn't really know him from a lot of things. What?
So I mean, he's Ben Affleck's brother, but the very first movie he was in was Good Will Hunting. So
he was in that?
Yeah, he's in that, man. He's the squirrely guy that jerks off into the catcher's mitt.
I've only seen it once. I don't remember it that well.
But no, he's like one of the main friends, and he's the guy. When they're in the bar, he goes, "My boy is wicked smart." Like
it's another Boston movie. This is a Boston movie.
It's a Boston. Well, fuck, the Affleck boys. They're from Boston.
They all got that accent.
Yeah, they're the Boston boys.
It's wicked awesome.
Wicked awesome. My boy's wicked smart.
Oh, real quick, let me go back to Llewyn Davis and throw out the tomato score.
Oh yeah, we forgot to do that.
Forgot to do that. 92 on the tomato meter, 74 audience. 92 though, that's pretty fucking good.
That movie is kind of almost an art house movie, so I would see why critics would love it so much.
Yeah.
And I kind of see why, like, it's got a pretty good audience score, but why it would turn some people away. And I feel like this movie is going to be exactly the same, where the critic score is higher than the audience score just because of the subject matter.
Manchester by the Sea tomato scores, we got 96 and 78, so kind of around the same.
Yep, that's kind of what I figured, and I'll get into why I think that is. I think the most interesting thing about Casey Affleck in this role is when I was first watching it. For about the first half of the movie, I thought he had like Asperger's, or he was like kind of autistic.
Just because he's like shut off.
Well, because he's shut off.
He's like antisocial.
He's antisocial, but also like when people are treating him like shit in a job where he's really not supposed to talk back to them, he's like, well, I don't really give a fuck what you do. Like,
yeah.
He's very like he's very I wouldn't say aggressive.
Abrasive?
But he's very abrasive. Is
that a good word?
Yeah, that's the perfect word. Yeah, no, he's not so much aggressive, but he's very abrasive. And his boss is like, man, all the tenants keep complaining about you. He's like, do I do a good job?
Yeah.
Well, then leave me the fuck alone, or do what you gotta do.
And he's like, I even do electricity. That's illegal. He's like, I shouldn't be doing that shit.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, I was pleasantly surprised by his performance. So man, this is another one where it's really like, man, the fucking acting is really on point. It's just it's fucking a heartbreaking movie. So this whole time you think that he's kind of autistic and dejected, and he's living alone, and then we get like these flashback scenes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It cuts to
where I was like, wait a minute, this guy's fucking married. He's got kids. Like what? I wouldn't. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't have thought this about this character at all. So he, Casey Affleck's character, what's his name in the movie?
Oh shit! In my Lee.
That's right, Lee. Give it a goog, Nate.
I was about to goog it, but then I remembered.
Yeah, but Lee, it's like, it doesn't really seem like a father figure type, and so now his brother, has congestive heart failure, so he died. His brother dies very young, and now he has to be his nephew's guardian, and he's really
who's like what, 16, 17?
He's 16. He's a snot nosed fucking punk. Like
he's the same actor from Lady Bird, if you remember. He was her boyfriend who turned out to be gay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, same guy.
But
and he's like a pussy hound in this movie.
Oh well, I was gonna get to that, but we can just get in that now. I was like, it's funny that by all accounts, his dad Joe was like such a stand-up guy, because his son is kind of a scumbag. And I mean, I know he's only 16, and like, we kind of all know what 16 boys can be like, but I was like, man, you got like a serious girlfriend that's like, she's willing to do a lot for you. She even stands up to your weird uncle for you, and she's giving you puss on the reg, and you're out there trying to get like pussy from other girls. Like, you're kind of a shitbag for that, honestly, man.
He's like, I don't have to tell you to wear a condom, do I?
That was funny, man. Nah, me and Dad already had that conversation. Like, yeah, there's definitely like sprinkles of humor in it, and but man, so we'll get into the big bad of why Casey Affleck is the way he is. So, long story short, there's a lot of
spoiler.
There's a lot. This is a big spoiler. There's a lot of scenes where Casey is with his family, and you're like, this guy's a family man. What the fuck? But
and
then
he
when
did
he's with
seem like a good dad.
yeah,
right?
when he's with his family, he seems happy. He kind of seems much more like a normal dude. But then you find out what happens. You find out he kind of had a drinking problem, right? Like he just
Don't
drank.
we all? No, I'm kidding.
Right? Fuck, man. But he just drank too much, and he was all his fucking. They had to be like all his brother and his like high school buddies, friends,
yeah.
And they're it's like fucking
When they're playing ping pong, is that the scene you're talking about?
They're in the garage, they're all drinking, and it seems like this shit's probably been going on for a long, long time because his wife loses her shit on him, and it's honestly it's kind of totally deserved because he's got little ass kids in that house.
Dude, I've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've had the wife come in and yell at all my friends to tell them to leave and shit.
Yeah, and it's a respect. There. And see, like I think that's why I thought about this, and I was like, I know, because I was literally when I was walking up to your house, like literally, 40 minutes ago,
right?
I was thinking about that. I was like, that scene in that movie reminded me of things Kevin has told me, and I was like, that's why I'm glad I've always been super respectful around Sarah and the kids. So I was like, that's why she fucking likes me.
You're on her good list.
Because even when I come over and I'm over here late, I really don't make a lot of noise. I mean, I might sleep on the fucking extra bed that's in here sometimes, but I don't. Past a certain like point in the night, I'm like, I'm a pretty laid back, quiet dude, and I try to keep it that way. Yeah. I try to stay. I like coming over here, so I'm trying to be on your wife's good side.
That's what she appreciates about you.
But I do think in that scene, she's totally right about the respect thing. She's like, you got little ass kids that are asleep. You're a grown ass man. It's fucking 3:00 in the morning. And you assholes are drunk and making all this noise. Like, all these motherfuckers need to go home. And she's totally
she sends
right.
them all home, and then he was like,
well, he kind of does the right thing to where he knows he's drunk, and so he's like, okay, I'm not gonna drive, but I want to keep drinking.
The house was cold, and like we'll put a fire on.
We'll get into that.
All right, go ahead.
But so his point of view is like he's drunk. He wants to keep drinking, but he does kind of do the responsible thing.
Yeah,
where he's like, I'm not going to drive. I'm going to walk 20 minutes in the cold to the fucking convenience store that's still open, still serving beer, and grab that. It's when he comes back that his fucking whole house is on fire, right? And then you realize that you see his wife.
Michelle Williams.
And she's fucking crying her eyes out like, no, you got to get my kids. You got to get my kids. And you see his house is already completely burned down already. And you realize, oh, shit, his kids are in that house and they're not going to make it.
3 fucking kids.
3 little ass kids, man. 2 of them, one of them was a baby. 2 of them couldn't have been older than 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
And you see the firefighters carrying out their bodies in like green bags, and it's fucking heartbreaking, bro.
Damn,
like heartbreaking. And
I will say, like,
and that's when we get into the part where what you were gonna get into. But go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, the guy, the director, I think he wrote it too, Kenneth Lonergan. That's a bit much, killing 3 children. And you're writing a story and you just killed 3 children. It's a bit heavy-handed, but I mean it can happen. So I don't fault that.
But that's when after watching that scene, it's that eureka moment. You're like, oh,
That's why he's so fucking...
That's why he's the way he is. And then every time, like when he's in the bar and he's had a little too much to drink, it's like in the opening scene. Those two guys are like looking and talking and then looking at him and talking. And he goes over there and confronts him. Then he immediately starts a fist fight with him.
Yeah.
And that's not the first time we see that in the movie. We see it later too. And it seems to deal with every time he's forced to like remember that situation. He has this episode where he just gets in a fight because all he wants to do is feel pain. He just wants to fucking fight. And, you know, he doesn't care if he gets the shit kicked out of him. He's just... and so that's when he's at the police station, and you were going to talk about that, so go ahead and kind of give the skibby on that.
Yeah, when he's just telling the story about what actually happened. He's like, I put a log on the fire or whatever. He's like, I left for the store. I can't remember if I put the gate for the fireplace up, and then he came back, and then
Yep, he's like,
it is what it is.
He's like, I must have forgotten. He's like, I'm pretty sure that a log just
rolled
out, and he's like, you know, my kids sleep upstairs, so once the fire really got going and my wife, the smoke made my wife pass out, it's like there was just no way to get the kids out.
Yeah,
and like,
they slept downstairs, right? That's how she was able to get out.
Yep, that's how the firefighters were able to pull her out before the fire really got really bad.
God damn it.
Yeah. And it's very clear. I mean, you know, he blames himself, and in a way, it kind of is his fault because he was being drunk and neglectful. But it was, you know, it was a complete accident. It was horrible,
and that's why they don't arrest him, because they're like,
the suffering you're feeling is way worse than anything we could ever do to you.
Well, I mean, they understand that it was an accident. You didn't really commit a crime. It was just a really terrible mistake. We can't lock you up for an accident.
Yeah. And that's like the crazy thing when he tries to kill himself right there in the police station. Dude. He pulls the gun out of the police officer's holster from behind and tries to shoot himself. And it's just like...
That's a heavy fucking moment.
Yeah, and it's just like, but you understand it because he feels like all this is his fault. And again, part of it is, but, you know, it was just a fucking really... terrible mistake, and I couldn't even imagine losing your 3 children.
I know,
your 3 young children, but also partly being responsible for it, even though it was an accident. I can't even imagine being in that headspace. It's fucking terrible. And it's just like, it's such a gut that 20 minutes is such a gut wrenching visceral moment because, and it's you know, I didn't expect it. You know what I mean? That was the big thing.
I know, you didn't know what you were getting into, right, with this movie?
So I figured, like, he did something really stupid because he was super fucking drunk. Like, when he walked to the store and got more beer, I was like, oh, his wife probably divorced him because he was such an alcoholic, and it was probably scaring the kid. You know, I thought some shit like that. You know, some normal, like, something a little more normal where she wanted to get her kids away from a bad situation.
Sure. Didn't you say you went into this movie blind, though?
Yeah, I didn't read it. I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
The only thing I read was the tagline was, you know, I just knew that it was about an uncle whose brother passed away and he became responsible for a kid. Right. That's all I knew about the movie.
And I will say that this movie was spoiled for me before I saw it the first time.
Oh, that's a bummer, man.
Well, it's because, you know, I listen to this podcast that talk about movies, you know. It's basically, this is a ripoff of that podcast, Joe and Ron on Talk Movies, but...
but better, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, so I already knew about the fucking kids dying and all that, so... But, I mean, I did end up watching it, and I still really loved it, regardless...
Right.
As if it was... fucking spoiled for me or not. But and you got, you know, Michelle Williams, the wife. Have you seen her? She's always kind of typecast as the fucking wife with like marital problems or like, you know, girlfriend marital problems. She was in this movie Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling. Fucking great movie, dude.
I've been told to watch that movie.
It's really good, dude. It's my favorite Ryan Gosling performance so far. I don't know how much of his movies I've seen, but yeah, dude, that dude's good.
I was gonna say honestly the most heartbreaking part of the movie for me isn't like the brother's death. It isn't even the funeral.
That's another thing I relate to because I had a brother who died too. So like,
I mean, honestly though, man, it's something that's so relatable. Losing someone you're close to, you know what I mean? I feel like everybody close to our age has experienced that. Maybe not like a brother, but like an uncle you were close to, or for me, my grandfather or my grandmother. Like everybody's lost people that they're really close to, and those are tough situations, especially if you're the one responsible for planning their funeral arrangements. You know what I mean? That's got to be such a tough thing, because my aunt and my uncle were the one that planned the funeral arrangements for my grandfather, and that had to be such an arduous task because she just lost her father. Like that had to be really tough, but she was so strong through it. I was like really respected her and was proud of her for it. But the most heartbreaking part of this movie for me is when he has been going back and forth from Boston to Manchester, and he runs into his ex-wife, the woman you were talking about, Michelle Williams, in Manchester, and she's like, "Hey, it's so great to see you," and she's trying to, have that dialogue, that conversation where she's like trying to explain to him.
I think I cried a little at that part.
I fucking definitely teared up, man, because it was that situation where you kind of you understand everything about their marriage ending, because she blamed him for the death of those kids.
Yeah, and she feels bad about that, right? She's
right.
She's kind of apologetic to him.
Well, because she understands how suicidal and how just broken he is.
How much it fucking
weighs
on him.
Well, and there's that thing where when you really, really love somebody, even if you understand that you can't be together anymore, you never really stop loving that person. You just understand like you're no longer compatible being together. And when she's that's the part you realize just how broken he is, when she's trying to tell him like, no, you have to live, like it's not your fault. And he's like, no, it is. Like he's like, no. He's like, look, I'm just completely broken. He's like, there's nothing left inside of me.
Right.
And that's such a heartbreaking moment, because like, oh God, man, to have no hope, to like be that far gone to
right
where,
now,
yeah, to be in that place where it's like there's no hope left, and I'm just broken. Like there's no fixing me. Like I can't be happy anymore. I'm just empty inside. That's so devastating, especially to someone that cares about you so much. And like you tell, like, because I think she partly probably feels responsible for him being that way, for how, like, because I'm sure she said some horrible shit to him.
Sure.
And I feel like in that moment you're like, oh, she totally feels responsible for the way he is now, and like her heart is just completely breaking. You can tell, like, she really wants to have some kind of relationship with him, but seeing her just reminds him of what happened, and he just can't do it. Yeah. It's the whole thing is just, it's a guttural punch, man. It's hard, it's rough. It's rough.
It's hard. That's shit I'm into, though. I fucking get off on that
shit. He's like, do you see how hard my nipples are? Look at them.
A little side note, whenever they're Casey Affleck and the nephew, they're arguing about what they're gonna do with the boat or whatever, and some random guy, he walks by and he says, "Oh, great parenting," or whatever. And
he fucking loses it. Yeah,
that was the director.
No shit.
Yeah, that guy, that random guy.
That's awesome. Honestly though, man, I was kind of on Casey's side in that point. It's just like, this isn't any of your fucking business. It's not like he's like actually physically abusing the kid, because you don't know what this kid said to him. Sometimes, especially teenagers, are I know I said terrible shit to adults when I was a teenager. So sometimes, like, teenagers need to be checked. You know, not this fucking hand holding. Oh, you can't say that. They're a minor. I was like, no. That's the time where I'm like, hey, look, you're a fucking kid, and I'll knock your goddamn teeth out. Like, sometimes kids need to be told that shit because they get way too big for their britches, and it's like,
sure, yeah, totally.
It's one of those things where, especially when you have all those hormones running through your body, you need a reality check sometimes, like, and you need to be put in your place. And it's like, you know, it's not the cookie cutter world that some people try to make it be. So, like, mind your own fucking business. Now, like, yeah, if he was off and, like, you know, decking this kid in the face, yeah, stop that shit. That's not okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, don't abuse your kids, but, like, say it, like, telling, hey, watch your fucking mouth. I'll knock your teeth out. That's different than actually doing it. You know what I mean?
Another thing about the nephew, he it sort of seems like he doesn't really care about his dad's death. I don't know. He's just he's still like about hanging out with friends and trying to get laid and shit. Yeah. But then there's that scene where before that they talk about funeral arrangements and shit about his dad, and they're like keeping him in a freezer, he says.
Well, yeah.
And he's like, I don't like that idea of keeping him in a freezer.
But it makes sense because it's in the winter, and it's, you know, in Boston it's really fucking cold. And so when it's super, super cold like that, you can't dig graves because you got to worry about disrupting everything that's around it because the ground is so hard and solid. If you dig into it, like you could literally like break other people's caskets. Like you can affect everything around what you're digging, so you have to wait until it's warmer before you actually you know what I mean, dig that plot. So I mean, it's like it sucks, it does, like, but it's what Casey Affleck is saying, what Lee is saying is he's like pretty on point, and he's like, you know, I don't like it either, but it is what it is.
And then there's that scene later on where all the meat falls out of the freezer when the nephew's just going to the fridge for a late night snack or whatever. All the meat falls out, and then he just breaks down.
He starts bawling.
Just because all that, he was just thought about his dad in that moment, because he was like I said earlier, he wasn't comfortable with just the thought of his dad just being kept in a freezer.
Well, and I also think it's one of those things where he's a teenager, and so he's compartmentalizing what happens because he doesn't know how to process it, and so he's kind of just keeping himself busy with other shit. Because like his fucking dad just died. Like that was like his dad was kind of his hero, so he doesn't really know how to deal with that. I mean, that makes sense, man. Like what teenager knows really how to deal with the death of their parents? So he just keeps putting it aside, and he's kind of being a little scumbag, going around his girlfriend's back to sleep with another girl he's going to school with. But he's a kid and he's stupid, so it's like, you know, kids do dumb shit like that. I mean, grown men do dumb shit like that. Grown men have whole like lives built together and go around fucking around on their old lady. And it's like, gonna get caught, man. You think you're smart, but she's gonna see your shit in your phone, and eventually you're gonna go down, pal. Like, so you can't hate on the kid too much for it. It's a shitty thing, but he's a fucking teenager. And his uncle kind of just weathers the storm, man. He just does the best that he can do given the circumstances, but he's clearly not the person to be this kid's guardian. And he makes that very apparent to his nephew. He's like, he makes it apparent to the lawyer too. He's like, I really shouldn't be the guy for this.
Yeah, and I think his brother never told him that he would be the one taking, his nephew.
Right, he was supposed to be.
Yeah. He's like, no, of course he never told never told me that because he knew I wouldn't approve or whatever.
Yeah, and after at first. Kind of just think he's being an asshole, but after seeing everything he's gone through and where he is psychologically, I really kind of agree with him. Is like he doesn't really have a place being a guardian to a teenager because he's such a fucking mess himself, man. It's when you're at that age, it's such a pivotal age where you really need a strong adult role model to guide you into not doing stupid shit, and somebody that's a hot mess who gets drunk a lot, who gets into fucking bar fights. Like, you shouldn't be a fucking guardian for a teenager. You just shouldn't. Like that's an age where it's like, definitely little kids need a solid foundation. They need parents to be there to guide them. But I feel like that is even more so for teenagers, man, because they're forming their own opinions about the world. So they need solid ground to stand against that's going to be firm, but also understanding enough to know they're a dumb kid and they're just now getting into the world and they don't really know anything about it. And so that balance of firmness, but having enough understanding to know where they are in the world is really important. And, he's just not going to be able to give that because he's so broken, and he's also so rigid about everything. He's like, nah, man, this is just the fucking way it is. Leave me alone.
Yeah. I will say one of my notes is that he seems happy when he's on the boat in the water, you know what I mean? He seems like he's more at peace or something. I don't know.
I think that also brings some nostalgia though from the good times when his brother was still alive, when his kids were still alive.
Yeah, when they were fishing.
He only has good memories of this thing. I will say, he does do. I give him credit. I give Lee credit later in the movie when he has a good idea to sell like all the expensive rifles his brother owned, so that way they can get a new engine for the boat. Yeah, because he understands how important it is to his nephew, to Patty.
Here's another note. I only got a couple more. The scene where they finally bury Joe. He's buried next to his parents, right? They have one of those headstones where it says his father's name and his mother's name and then his name, and then there's a blank spot which makes you think like he's probably thinking about his own mortality in that moment, you know what I mean? I think it's a very subtle thing, like most people wouldn't pick up on that, but I think that I think
you're right, man. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but that was a good catch.
I think that's very on point. Very he's just probably thinking about his own mortality, you know what I mean? And he is like this depressed person, so I mean that's probably always on his mind. Let me see. I think that's about it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I really said my piece, kind of deep dive into it. I'd say all the characters in this movie are really realistic.
There's also great performances.
And really good dialogue too in this movie as well. Like especially from the teenage kids, like everything they say is so believable. It's like, yeah, they sound just like fucking T. And the whole band thing where they're practicing I was in a band like that.
Yeah.
Practicing in the basement and you think you're hot shit because you're a band, but you really sound like dog drummer. Shit. Yeah, they're shitting on the drummer.
You were too slow on that.
And really, the drummer sounds fine, and everybody else sounds like shit. It's kind of the irony of that whole situation. It's the thing that actually makes it really funny.
Yeah. What do you say? Rate it?
Yeah, man, we can rate it.
I'll give it another 8.5, bro. Double 8.5s for me on this one.
Hey, man.
Because this is, I really like it.
It's a good movie. I mean,
I do think I like Llewyn Davis more, but I'm still rating him the same.
I definitely like this movie but I just the story trajectory was just a little more like I'm a character and story guy, so like I like movies with a little stronger story. This one I'm not sitting much higher though. I'm sitting at about 7 on this one. I think.
Okay.
I think it's a good movie. I think it's just one of those movies, man, where I was so jarred by the subject matter where I think that put it down a few pegs. I think it's a very surprising twist. Like if you haven't seen the movie,
yeah, that scene comes out of nowhere, dude.
It's a fucking. It's like
a heavy hitter, bro.
Yeah, it's a heavy hitter home run out of nowhere, and you're like, it's a good goddamn moment for sure. But
yeah,
I think
you're not really prepared for that scene, bro.
There's it's a tight movie. Like even though it's a 2-hour movie, it's tight. I don't feel like there's not a lot of
fat on it.
There's not a lot of fat. There's not a lot of wasted dialogue. The story progresses pretty linearly, and everything it's tight, makes sense. I guess the tone and the vibe in the movie is more so. It's more like a personal thing. I'm like, man, I wouldn't say I enjoyed the movie, but I think it was a good movie. I probably maybe down the line would watch it again, but
I totally would.
I think I would too. It was just like, man, it fucking depressed me. So I'm like, all right, I need to get away. I need to get away from it for a bit, man.
Movies don't. I mean, I don't think they really linger with me. I could just watch a movie and be fine, and go on with my day. Like they don't fucking depress me for the rest of the day, type shit. You know?
I wouldn't say like I was depressed for it, but I was just like, you know what I mean. That initial after, I was like, kind of bummed out. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I gotta watch some.
I get that.
Like between both of these movies, like I need to watch some funny shit. That bummed me out. Like,
all right, folks. Damn.
Yeah.
Good pairing, man.
Yeah.
We were like, our periods were synced for this.
Right, one. Right. Our lunar cycles matched up this time around.
One thing left to do: pick our next.
Pick the next movie.
God,
you want me to go first? Because I know exactly. So I'm gonna be up front. I don't think you're gonna like this movie. Like I'm just gonna be honest about it. That's what
keeps it interesting.
But personally, I fucking love this movie. Just a little background. It's a samurai movie. I fucking love samurai movies. But this isn't an
Is it the Tom Cruise one? No.
Fucking, I would never pick that movie. Get out of here with that. But it's not like an old school samurai movie like the old Japanese ones. I love those movies. I just know that's not your vibe, so normally I wouldn't pick something. But I am picking a newer one, and I think it's one of the best fucking samurai movies of the 21st century. It's a movie called it is going to be in subtitles. There is no English transfer of it. It is like a subtitle movie. It's called 13 Assassins. I love this movie. It's a mix of like an action and drama movie. I think it's a fucking great movie. Okay, I'm excited. I haven't watched it in a while. I tend to watch it like maybe once every year or two. But I love this movie. I can't wait to watch it again.
I don't think I know it. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
I didn't think you would. It's not a well-known movie except by people that, you know, are into samurai movies.
All right. Let me see. I think shit in my mouth. I don't know what I want to choose. There's so many good choices. All right. How about this one? It's an A24, I believe.
Oh shit. Okay.
You know I love A24.
Nah, man, I like a lot of their movies too, actually.
It's a movie called Room. Ever heard of it? Not the one that people loved, or it's so bad it's good. Not that one. That one's The Room. This one's just called Room. No idea?
No, I'd have to look it up, yeah. I'm going to look it up right now.
I think you should go in blind.
I will. Okay. Yeah, I won't even... I'm just going to look it up to see, like, what it looks like so I know, like, when I'm watching it, what it is, you know what I mean? So I'm not watching the wrong shit.
Right. Yeah, don't watch the Tommy Wiseau one, bro.
No.
I've never seen that movie. I kind of want to see it just because.
Dude, I've seen the the mockumentary with James Franco and Dave Franco.
I've seen that. Disaster Artist.
I've seen that movie.
So it's on Max.
It's on Max? Okay, cool. Well then, yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, you ever seen that cover photo or?
No.
No idea?
No idea.
All right.
I'm going completely blind, man.
It's going to rock your world, brother.
Tight.
Tight butthole. Thanks, everybody, for listening, bro. We got to get out of here.
Yeah. See you on the flip side.
Camera already died.
Fuck.
That's all right.
Well, then, peace out.
Read 'em and queef.
Read 'em and queef.
Where's his scrotum? Llewyn? Where's his scrotum?